Hello everyone, back to you in today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week's 10 days. So today's second video takes us to the 21st of February. We'll be able to extend out beyond that the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. I have got CFS-V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks. That takes us into early March. We've released the ECM-GF 30-day look ahead as well today. And that's taking us into March. And overall, it looks like it's going to stay really mild, actually quite warm across many parts of Northern Europe for the next 4 weeks. So just a continuation of what we've had through this winter so far, right way up to the very end of it. Have a look at the ECM 30-day look ahead, see what's going on there. I've got quite a few snow pictures to show you. That'll be in a future video, but keep them coming. You can share with us on our social media pages, Facebook and Twitter. You can email them to us at gazoffice@gmail.com or post them in the comment box at gazoffice.com. And we'll show them in a future video later on in the week. I'm not going to show them today, though, because I wanted to start off with a couple of tweets that I found quite interesting. So I haven't got time to show them today, but we'll show some of those pictures later in the week. So the first tweet I want to share with you is this one from the UK Met. Obviously, this is going to be the big story in the coming days. So the UK Met tweeted this earlier on today, saying yellow warning for wind has been issued. Hashtag Storm Dennis has been named and will bring very strong winds and potential disruption to many parts of England and Wales on Saturday. There's a link as well that you can have a look at, and also hashtag stay weather aware, or stay hashtag weather aware. So after Kira last weekend, we're going to do it all over again this weekend with Storm Dennis, and obviously we're going to have to see how bad this one gets. I don't think at the moment, it's doing quite as bad as Kira, but nevertheless, it's bad enough to be named as early as Tuesday. We're not going to get the storm until Saturday, so obviously I must be rather concerned about it at the UK Met and at Met Éireann. So anyway, here we go again. Countdown to Storm Dennis has started. And we'll bring you more about that, of course, in the days ahead. There's also quite an interesting little animation that they've got showing Storm Dennis has been named. And they tell us where exactly this storm is coming from. So here we are, we're back in the Atlantic again. Low pressure coming out of Newfoundland, that's Dennis, heading towards us on Friday into Saturday. Very strong winds wrapped around that. And a lot of heavy rain, some hill snow mixed in too. So basically we're doing it all over again this weekend. Wind and rain, disruption. Likely we're doing it all over again. The only difference is that it doesn't look quite as intense, I don't think, as Kira. But then again, it's still early days. And there's still plenty of time for intensification of Dennis. So we shall see where that's going in the days. And obviously there'll be much more about that in the coming videos through the rest of the week. I saw this yesterday, also quite interesting. This was tweeted by CPC, which is part of NOAA. So they were saying the most recently observed Arctic oscillation is the highest daily value on our historical record at 6.34. breaking the past record from February the 26th, 1990 at 5.91. And there's the daily AO. There's a daily AO returns. So if we close in on it, you can see that yes, it's that blue bar going up to there. That takes us to a record-breaking Arctic oscillation. So we've known that this is a very, very strong AO winter, but we can now say not only is it a very strong AO winter, it has also been a record-breaking winter from the Arctic oscillation perspective. I think that record is from the 9th of February, as they was tweeting it yesterday on the 10th. So there we go. We've had a record-breaking winter in terms of the Arctic oscillation being at extreme positive levels, and that's one of the reasons we have just been continuously driving in low pressure and driving in the jet stream. This is the Arctic oscillation observed and forecast chart by CPC, NCP and NOAA. Black line shows where we've been with the AO, red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. So again, we see about through this winter, generally the Arctic Oscillation has been positive, although it did go a little bit negative there in the second half of December. But really, through January, it's been extremely positive. Early in the month, very, very positive. And at that point, we didn't think it could go any more positive through this first half of January. But look at this. We got to early February, and we've gotten even more positive. So there we are. That's where we've been over the past few days, into record-breaking positive levels with the Arctic Oscillation. Obviously, at that sort of level of positivity, it can't stay there indefinitely. So it is going to come down as we move into towards the middle of February. We will see the Arctic Oscillation coming down, but still positive even then. I mean, that's a pretty positive AO. It doesn't look anywhere near as dramatic as this record-breaking level we've been at just past few days, but that's really quite a positive AO even when it's come down. And then into the second half of February, the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to take off again. So there's no sign of an end to this extreme positive period of the Arctic Oscillation. It's just set to go on. And of course, it's only just reflecting the atmospheric state, but it's telling us that the atmospheric state is in quite an extreme state over the Arctic. Extreme in terms of the strength of the polar vortex. Very, very intense polar vortex to get such a positive Arctic Oscillation. The one good side of that is that we are seeing a recovery in Arctic sea ice extent across some parts of the Arctic at the moment. But for us down in mid-latitudes, it just means that we're going to carry on driving in these westerly winds. And at the same time, of course, the NEO has also been in its positive phase also. So this is the NEO observed and broadcast chart. Black line again showing where we've been with the NEO. Red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles forecasting the NEO to go. So generally been in this positive phase through this winter, starting at the beginning of December. Virtually on the first day of December we went positive with the NEO. We've been there pretty much ever since. We did go a little bit negative there for a day or two right at the end of January, but only like neutral to weakly negative, and then the NEO has gone back into solidly positive territory again. That's where we currently are, very positive. And the GFS ensembles are forecasting the NEO to stay positive right way through to the final week of February. So this tells us fundamentally there's not going to be any change in the overall pattern going towards the end of this month. Yes, we will vary weather data at the moment, having a bit of a cold snap as the air is coming out of Canada, eastern Canada, and Greenland. So yes, there has been some snow around in the past few days, as I say. Some places have had snow, particularly in the north and the west, in the past few days. We're going to keep cold for the next day or two as well, but we're not talking about true Arctic or Siberian freezing cold. So we're not talking about like real northerly winds digging in very cold Arctic air, or winds from the east bringing Siberian easterlies to us. It's nothing like that. It's just like a coldish sort of zonal type flow coming off Greenland and through the Atlantic, which can deliver snow, especially to the northern and western parts of the country, but invariably we will eventually start pulling in milder air from further south in the Atlantic Ocean. Fundamentally, there's no sign of a change to this very, very westerly and Atlantic-driven and zonal winter. So the wait goes on for this pattern to change. We've been in this pattern right way since the beginning of December. It's very unusual to end a season with the same pattern that you started with. Of course, sometimes that can happen, and this is one of those occasions where that has happened with no real deviation throughout the whole of the season. So quite unusual what's gone on with this winter, but at the moment the westerlies continue to rule the roost. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. On at London today at Old Wetter Central. So red line is 30-year upper air temperature average for London. I say having a bit of a cold snap at the moment. That's got another day or two left to run. And then in the second half week, temperatures pick up into weekend, becoming very mild. But of course, we have got Storm Dennis to contend with as well over the weekend. And then into next week, a bit of a drop in the temperature again. So similar to this week, we might start to pull in some rather colder air out of Greenland through the early part of next week before moving into the last week of February. Temperatures probably pick up a bit, although there is a bit of scatter there, so we have got some colder outlier members down here, but most of the GFS upper air temperature ensemble members are within the mild category. Maybe a bit of a drying trend showing up as well. So we start off next couple of days quite dry. We're going to have more wet weather on Thursday. And then into weekend, again, this is the rainfall associated with Storm Dennis. So there'll be plenty of rain around as well as strong winds too. Once that gets out of the way, it goes drier when we have this little cold snap early next week. But then after that, possibly a bit of a drying trend as well going into the last week of February. So we may be starting to see signs of higher pressure building for the last week or so of February. That's been something that we've been, an idea that's been within play, within particularly the longer range model output like the CFS for a while now. We may be starting to see the first signs of it within the GFS and its ensembles too. Possibly some higher pressure, not, I wouldn't have thought bringing much away of cold weather, except perhaps a night frost, but daytime's probably quite spring-like actually. But perhaps more importantly, and more critically, going a little bit drier and less stormy into the last week or so of the month. We shall see about that. It's quite a long way off. It's about 2 weeks away, so need to wait and see how that plays out. Now we haven't got the anomaly maps up, have we? So I'll just pause the video there. I'll get the anomaly maps up so we have a quick look at those, and then we'll go on to the generic chart. So sorry about that. I'll pause the video, and we'll be back in around 2 seconds. Right, back, we've got the anomaly maps up, so here we go. This is the temperature anomaly for the next week across not just the UK, but for the rest of Europe as well. This is from the 11th to the 19th of February. A little bit cooler than average in northern parts of the UK, so Scotland and Northern Ireland coming out a little bit cooler than average. England and Wales a little bit milder than average. Not a particularly big deviation. It will again be one of the cooler weeks that we've had through this exceptionally mild winter, although of course nothing particularly cold, but certainly cooler than what we've had a lot of the time through this winter. In the next week from the 11th to 19th of February. Precipitation anomaly is still looking wetter than average from the 11th to the 19th of February. Any drier conditions coming along will be beyond this period. So close to average with temperatures and quite unsettled overall. Right, so that's how the GFS is looking for Friday. So Friday we're going to bring in quite a deep area of low pressure. That's not Storm Dennis there, I don't think, although it is quite a big area of low pressure. I think this just here is Storm Dennis. Doesn't look like much at 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. But as we go through to Saturday, we can see that then we've got Storm Dennis sort of amalgamating with this other area of low pressure that we've had in the Atlantic all the way along. And the upshot is the whole of the country is going to turn very wet and windy as we go into Saturday with strong to gale force winds and bouts of heavy rain too. And then into Sunday, where we're into showery westerly by then, very tight back ice bars, so it's going to be really windy. Severe gales again could give us a bit of a battering overnight Saturday and into Sunday. Probably starting to go a bit colder again in the north as the air begins to pull out to Greenland once more. So showers probably beginning to turn wintry across the northern part of the country by the end of next weekend. Cold and showery and windy through the early part of next week. That's pretty much where we've been at the beginning of this week, of course. And then we move up towards the middle of next week and high pressure begins to move in from the southwest. So that starts to turn a little bit drier then as we go into the second half next week. Up to day 10, we've got high pressure sitting across the south. Low pressure is out to the north and west. And we're bringing in a west to southwesterly wind. And probably quite mild with that. And down in the south, maybe even a little bit spring-like. Very mild on the 22nd of February, just beyond day 10, with a long effect southwesterly. And we sort of keep this idea of high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north going into the very extended range. Just a bit of a cold snap there by the very end of the GFS run, 27th of February. Bit of a northerly, but of course that's a very, very long way out. GM looks like this, so again looking rather menacing in the Atlantic on Friday. And into the weekend, wet and windy. Storm Dennis brings us another battering over the weekend. Probably not quite as bad as Storm Kira, but nevertheless it looks quite nasty over the weekend. Into next week, cold, showery west to northwest winds to start week, and then high pressure has a go at ridging up from the southwest, never really settles down though up to daytime, with the GM still looking quite unsettled, but it does get milder through the second half of next week. ECM looks like that, so once again the Atlantic does look pretty menacing on Friday, and things develop further through Saturday into Sunday. Again, there is a risk of gales or severe gales once again this weekend, and heavy spells of rain too. Once that gets out of the way, we're left with a cold and showery west to northwesterly again for the early part of next week, before high pressure begins to build up from the southwest into the middle of next week, turning us a little bit drier and also quite mild as the wind pulls in from the southwest. That's how we look at day 10. So high pressure is centred over France, then low pressure up to the north, and we're still keeping the westerlies going. The only difference is that it's quite a bit drier, much less stormy, and temperatures are mild. This is the precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from Tavecho.com. Lots of snow showers piling into the north and west today. Plenty of wintry showers around. They sort of pull back towards the coast tomorrow. Won't be as many showers around tomorrow, but by the end of tomorrow and into Thursday, heavy rains beginning to arrive in the far southwest, and that marches northwards and eastwards overnight. Wednesday into Thursday, producing the chance of some quite heavy snow for parts of Northern Ireland and also for Northern England. Further south, it's mostly going to be rain, except over higher ground. A bit of a snow event there in the far northeast of England up to southern Scotland, perhaps through Thursday morning. Further south, the rain is clearing away to the east. So that gets out of the way. We go a little bit drier then for Friday. But it's not long before rain is coming back into the west. By the end of Friday, it's turning wet again in the west. And then into the weekend, well, here we go. This is Storm Dennis, bringing lots of heavy rain through the course of Saturday. Across the country, very strong winds associated with that as well. Also, it could be a bit of a washout again on Saturday. And we keep further pulse of rain going through into Sunday as well. So this looks like a very wet weekend, potentially. So the story with Dennis might be more towards rain than wind, actually, but I think both wind and rain will be significant this weekend. And further north, there's more snow again being forecast, parts of Scotland in particular. We're into the early part of next week now, and still we're getting further bouts of rain coming in across the south in particular. So a bit of a deluge coming up, really, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm sure there could well be some more flooding, unfortunately, with that. We're going to rather colder, sort of showery type interlude through the early part of next week before high pressure begins to build in, and that turns us a little bit drier then. Up to day 10, a bit showery in the west, but certainly quite a bit drier from around days sort of 7 through to 10. But before that, especially over the weekend, quite a bit of rain to come. This is the option that's on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which is the 21st of February. All members of the ECM ensembles are going for this, 51 out of 51. They're showing high pressure centred to our south, low pressure is out to the north and west. And we're bringing in a west-south-westerly wind, so quite mild with that. And the best of the driest weather will be down in the south. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options within the ECM ensembles. This is the 26th of February. 31 members of the ECM ensembles have a mid-Atlantic ridge with a trough of low pressure to the east. That's going to be quite a cold scenario, actually. That brings a cold snap, potentially, for the end of February, or going towards the end of February, anyway. And then 20 members of the ECM ensembles have high pressure centred over the top of the country. Going to be mostly dry with that, probably relatively spring-like by day, and maybe cold and frosty by night. That's a minority option. Actually, the cold snap that we've got there for the 26th February, that is the more likely option, actually, today. 31 versus 20 members of the ECM ensembles doing that. So maybe a cold snap sometime in the last days of the month. And then finally, the CFSV2, so these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 11th to the 17th of February. The coming week, we'll have high pressure to the south and low pressure over and to the north. We keep westerlies going and can be very unsettled. Got Storm Dennis to contend with over the weekend as well. More about that through the course of the next few days. Week 2 is the 18th to 24th of February. Then high pressure begins to ridge more towards us. Low pressure gets pushed further north with the jet stream. Probably still very unsettled for the north. Perhaps getting a bit drier though down in the south. All areas would be mild. Week 3 then centres high pressure over top of the country. It was 25th of February to the 2nd of March with a big area of high pressure over the country. Low pressures up to the north. Jet stream going northwards as well. So with that one, probably mainly dry, or definitely a lot of dry weather on offer. By day, because the sun is getting much stronger by late February, I suspect relatively pleasant by day, feeling quite spring-like, but by night could be a bit cold, especially if we get some frost and fog. And then finally, week 4 is the 3rd to the 9th of March. Then the ridge is going back towards Central Europe and down towards the Alps. Low pressure out to the northwest. Very mild with that. Bring wind up from a south-southwesterly direction. And probably over time beginning to turn a bit more unsettled as that high pressure looks like it's declining. I suspect the low pressure will have another go at coming back in from the Atlantic, as it has done all winter. It's been remorseless. Low pressure and the jet stream has been remorseless this winter, and it may well be the case that it's going to go on even into March. Right, so that's it for your videos for today. So overall, it's very much as you were. The westerlies continue. There's no sign of a general change to the overall pattern. We may get a drier interlude though through the last week or so of the month. There could be cold snapping with that as well, but we may get a drier interlude through the last week of the month or so. But before then, we've got more very active weather and another named storm, Dennis, on the way for this weekend, so I'll keep you informed about that. 5-day forecast tomorrow, I'm sure we'll have all of the latest in terms of the storm Dennis, and we'll have a week 10 video update as well tomorrow too. So come back for all of tomorrow's videos. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.